Okay, so in this video, we'll be looking at how range partitioning is done. So first of all, we have launched the Oracle SQL Developer. So let me connect through a user. Uh, I have just created a user called Object Oriented Lab, and then the password. This we have already seen in the classroom. Okay, fine. So once we get connected, we'll have the script running just to verify that each of the commands are well organized. I'll show you how range partitioning is done. So first of all, we'll try to create a table. Now, this is just a dummy table called cells. It will have been anything of your choice, or it could have been anything of your, let's say, enterprise for which you want the partition to happen. Okay, so let's say we have a table, and now here we have some columns and a specified data type. So if you used to create a table, then this would have been the regular command. But now I want the table along with the partition created in it. I repeat, I want the table and then I want some partition created over it. Now, just because this is right now we have been demonstrating through Oracle on a single instance, on a local instance, this could have been somewhat different if let's say we had a distributed environment. Then I would have to specify the node as well. Okay, so for the time being, here we have the partition. The partition clause or the partition by clause through range we have specified the, excuse me, is the sales date. So through the sales date, now we have created multiple partitions. You could give on a production server, we actually specify some good name. We specify a good name that is more readable, more understandable. Okay, so then we have partition 2, partition 3, and blah blah blah. So while creating a partition, the general syntax says when you create a partition, then you need to specify the values. If you are creating a partition through range, then you have to pass a value. Then what will be the value that it stores? For example, P1 will be able to store only those records in which the sales date, just because it's an argument like the sales date is less than this date. Now you might ask, what if a particular sales is made exactly on this date? Will the record get holded in P1 or will it move to P2? Obviously, it will move to P2. Okay, so it says all the cells that has been performed before this date will be recorded in this partition. Hopefully that clears the statement. Now you can create as many possible partitions as you like, but depending upon the scenario, uh, for my for the learning purpose, of course, for the education purpose, I have created the 4 partitions: P1, P2, P3, and P4. Whereas make sure always your last partition, just to not stumble with some data, just to hold, so you have the last partition values less than the max value. Now the max value is something in a sequence that possibly the Oracle can generate as maximum value. Okay, so that is a max value that the Oracle can generate. Having said that, let's try to execute it. So I just selected it and I said execute. Okay, so far so good. Oh, I already had it. So let me see. You could either say create or replace, and that sounds better. Oh, so here we are. Let me drop this initially. Fine then, let's try to execute. So sales win has been created. Pretty good. So if you look at whether how the data has been retrieved or how it has been stored, it's a normal table. Okay, it's a normal table. But along with that, we have some partitions created. So let's try to insert the records. Let's try to insert the records. Let's try to insert the records. So I have few of my sample records here. So let's try to insert these values. So here I am. Finally, I could have used the multiple insert statements or a bulk statement instead, just to work it in a more safe way for our fresh database designers. Well then, so I have inserted a few records. Let's try to commit the database to make some permanent change. Okay, here we are. Done. So that makes my data being stored. So let me try to query the data. Okay, so let me try to query the data. So you would simply say select asterisk from. So if you look at here, the normal data is placed as is. Okay, so nobody can look at this result and tell me that these are partitioned. They are as is. But if you go to and check the explain plan, then what do we have? So let's try to execute it. So if you see here, it says we have different statistics available, and for that we have partition range all, if you can see, and then we have the plan has value and all the informations listed out. So let's try to execute the data from a particular partition. So how long did it take? How long did it take? What was the query? So if I can see here, it took me around, the cost was 1093. Okay, and partition ID. Okay, all of them were from the same partition. If you can see, it was a table access, just one, and it's done. No partitions were queried. Look, the whole table was queried, but in order to improve the performance, what we could rather say is select asterisk from cells 1, and I would rather try to look at partition P2. Let me see what data do we have inside P2. Okay, so inside P2 we just have two records because the sales date, it's been along with the partition. Now if I see, so the partition that was queried with 2, the main table as a single, so for a whole, and if you look at the cost, it's drastically decreased. It's 274. Instead of 1000, it's 274. The cost has drastically decreased. But here, now you go back and look at how the query has been performed. So again, for a range, the whole table gets accessed. Okay, so for the range, the whole table has gone accessed. See, the sales result has been queried and the performance has enhanced. Well then, if that is the case, now that would be upon the range. Now we were talking about what if a value is exactly of that particular, uh, say, date and time. Do we have a certain value? Yes, of course. 01/05/2016. Okay. Do we have any value like such? 21 August 2015. No, we don't have any value. Let me try to insert one. That won't make any difference. So 01/05 or 01/07/2017. Let me try to insert this record. So if you see here, 01. So this is the exactly on the boundary value. And just because we have said, that it's less than this value, let's try to verify whether this value is within the partition P3 or not. So let's query P3. So if you see, the 13th October 16 value is in P3, but the 1st July 2017 is not within P3. So where has it moved? It must have moved to P4. So if I go back and query P4, then definitely I'm going to get the record from 1st of July 2017. 1st of July 2017? Yes, of course. This is it. 1st of July 2017. Now you might have got the idea. Why did I say that the value is, what if the value will be not in that range? Okay. Fine then. So that will be end of partitioning lab related to range partitioning. We'll figure out some other type of partitioning, like we have index based, and then we have next will be collectively discussing